What's up, everyone? Welcome to After the Last Rental, where I bring the pour,
And I bring the gore. I'm Zach.
and I'm Mike. And if you're new here, this is how it works. Zach of Terrorax Video will pick a tape from his home rental store, as you can see behind him, and I will pick what we are sipping on. So, Zach, what do you have for us tonight?
Tonight we got 1995's Candyman 2 by Bill Condon. Hope I said that right. It's a highly slept on sequel. That's what we got.
And it's a very timely sequel because as we're recording, we have Mardi Gras celebrations going on. It's the eve of Fat Tuesday, which is very important to the film. So I think this is a really appropriate choice.
Perfect, really. Uh,
What's the back of the cover saying on this one?
I'm so glad you asked.
Can you please read that accurate synopsis on the back cover?
Yes. The legend and the horror began centuries ago when a Candyman was mutilated by an angry crowd and stung to death by bees. Now, in the midst of New Orleans' wild Mardi Gras celebrations, he is back and a hook for a hand to destroy the descendants of those who destroyed him. And this time, there will be hell to pay. That's how it
Now,
happens.
now we got to mention that we're obviously going to get into discussing the film, but they mentioned the hook, synonymous with Candyman. But as we know, we don't get any discussion about where the hook came from in
No.
this really great origin story, but no hook.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a Mandela effect. I don't know if that's something we subscribe to, but I could have swore, like, as a kid that they, like, jammed it, heckin' jammed it into his thing. And, yeah, they don't. They don't.
All
They
right.
just,
Well, before we go any further and we talk about the film, we need a drink. We need something to sip on. So, this is where I take over, and I figured we'd stroll down Bourbon Street, um, literally and figuratively, to a nice speakeasy, and I'm going with Starlight's honey finished bourbon. And I know you got some poured out already there, and I'm kind of late to the party, but I'll put this on the screen. So it's very
yes.
on the nose. Oh, in the Glen. Look at the Glen. I don't even have my own Glen going right now, which is shameful. So I know this is on the nose, Zach. We got the bees, Candyman, and a honey finish. But I will say, the more I thought about this, um, Starlight is a distillery I really like, and I've gotten to talk to the family, and it's been family owned for 150 years. So the family immigrated from Germany and started a farm, and they did like agricultural stuff. They still do a lot of fruits, vegetables. Got into wine, got into brandy, and then like 20 years ago, they got into whiskey. So I think it's really cool, especially if we're looking at family lineage with this film. That obviously plays a large part of this with like Annie and her discovering her family lineage. That's a lot of it's kept secret and by mom and her dad. And so the other thing that I thought was cool too is honey finishes are really popular, but this one in particular, I remember I messaging Christian and I asked him, I said, Christian, where do you get your honey? Like, I don't, these are things that I need to know when I'm reviewing a whiskey. And he mentioned that it's on the property of the farm as well. So he has his boy Kevin, who is the beekeeper there. He overlooks all the hives and harvests the honey that is then used to finish the whiskey, and everything, like when we talk real grain to glass, everything's on site. So I was like, you know what? We got bees. We got deep family lineage here. We got Kevin, who's actually tending to the bees on the farm. And we know that Tony Todd, every time he's done a Candyman, if there's bees involved, he's the real deal. And he is totally fine being a Kevin and working with the bees himself, even if it means being stung in the mouth or all over his body. So
And here's a
I'm gonna pour this out, and we're gonna have a sip to Starlight, to Kevin who tends to the bees, and the late great Tony Todd, my friend.
oh,
Yeah,
legend. Absolute.
legend. Cheers, Zach.
Cheers.
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
just. I'm trying to figure out this math on this. So, like, canonically, like, Dana Robitaille was like killed in like what, like the 1860s, 1870s,
Yeah.
and that was like 150 years ago, which is how long.
Damn. Okay. This is
So
serendipitous.
I was like,
Okay.
okay, hold on, I'm trying to find the exact date of his.
Zach, Zach making my pairing look even better than it is.
He was
But
born in
speak,
65, so he would have died. A few. He could have had a. He could have had a glass. Let's put it that
yeah,
way.
yeah, he might have had. So here's how it works. Speaking of the pour, when we talk about the film, we do a three sip system. So we do nose, our initial impressions, palate, core flavors, what worked, what didn't, acting, kills, atmosphere, whatever it might be. And then we do our finish, that lasting impression. Would we rewatch it? How does it make us feel? And then we give it our final verdict. So starting with our nose, I will start off by saying this. Zach being a great fan of this film, I was one where this got lumped into younger movie marathons with friends. And, we would take our weekend or a night and be, we're doing all the Halloweens or we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever it might be, right? And when watching this one, I don't remember it like not liking it, but I don't remember it standing out. And I feel like it just kind of got lost in the wash. So it was nice to revisit it this time around. And my expectations were high just because Zach, I trust you, and I'm sure we'll get to an episode one day where I'm like, I don't know what the hell you were thinking. But for now, you've never led me astray, and you always steer me in the right direction. But yeah, so I feel like I was really pleased to revisit this one, and we'll get into it because I feel like I missed so much in my initial watch. But you watch this semi-annually, annually.
At least once a year. At least once a year. I have like or in our house we have like a borderline holiday based on this movie where every Fat Tuesday we watch Candyman 2 and make gumbo and have some king cake.
Don't you have some
Dude,
king cake with you?
yeah, dude, come on over. I
I know
didn't think
you
I was
do
gonna
too.
talk king cake.
If you think that this is just fun banter right now in my messages, Zach sent me a picture of the cake that he has.
Dude, no, so Candyman 2, I think I actually watched Candyman 2 before I saw the original one. And I remember my brother was watching it with his buddy, and um, I was like, they're watching it, and they're like, "Oh, it's Candyman." I was like, the heck's Candyman? And they're like, I was like, "Well, what's he look like?" And they're like describe him like his multicolored suit, and then like he comes on screen. I was like, "Well, that can't be the guy, right?" He's like,
Too
like when you're a
suave.
kid, yeah, when you're a kid and somebody tells you something, they're like, "Well, they're definitely not lying to me." And I was like, "Oh no, who this guy is? But you better watch out, because Candyman's afoot." Like, but yeah, it was Candyman. But yeah, no, yeah, this is. I'm pretty sure I watched this one before the original one. I actually like. I feel like I have more of a bond to the part two than the first one.
But yeah, I mean, iconic, and I think again, even like me being younger and obsessed with like the masks and like these vicious looking people. Then there's Tony Todd and Candyman, and this guy is just suave. Like the outfit's dapper. Like what's anchoring him as scary is just obviously the kills and the hook, but palette, core flavors, things that stuck with us, acting, kills, story, atmosphere. We already kind of alluded to this, Mardi Gras. To me, like the Southern Gothic charm, like obviously I love the original and in the Chicago Burbs, and it really leans to that initial story. Um, but man, this is really just like atmospheric and creepy, and obviously it lends to the origin story of Candyman. But at one point, like off the top of my head that sticks out, um, it's like one of the earlier nights of celebration, and the couple are I guess in the bar that they own there, and that kid comes up in that white mask, and I was like, "Yo, this is creepy. This kind of looked like what's a movie like Us, like a Jordan Peele esque like."
Yeah, yeah,
It,
it's like the kid's mask.
yeah, yeah. And I
The
was like,
Burton
yo,
one.
those are elements of like where again a greater appreciation for like subtle stuff, but I feel like they really captured. I almost forgot that like this is a movie, if that makes any sense, that like Mardi Gras probably wasn't going on when they were filming, but they captured the essence of like what it would be.
Yeah, so the guy that I forget who it was. I'm not sure if it was like like they had like kind of like they like shifted hands on like who was like running this movie. Like I think they went through like a couple different directors. But they end up like getting a guy who just had like a warehouse full of like vintage like Mardi Gras stuff.
Wow.
So like the Mardi Gras in this movie was like out of date at the time of this movie. You know, so it was like
Okay.
they wanted like older stuff so it looked like I don't know, I guess cooler and like less like commercial, you know?
Hmm.
That's why it has like that like the coolest Mardi Gras vibe is that it was like out of date then, you know, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. And then the MC throughout the movie was a king is a kingfish. I
Kingfish. Fucking
yeah.
heck
And
it.
it makes it feel like a Shakespearean, like legit. It makes it feel like you have like this narration, like a Shakespeare tragedy, and and his voice chimes in, and it's kind of creepy, but he's like running the festivities, and I love that how it runs from start to finish throughout the film.
Yeah, his radio station was like 90 what 96.2 Kingfish. And all right, the thing that gets me, I remember like the first time like watching this, like not like we're like like past like being a kid or whatever. I remember like watching it like I was like maybe I took a break on watching it like from when I was a kid, like my revisited it. And like you're watching it, you're listening to Kingfish talk, and you're like, man, Kingfish sounds awesome. And then he seems just a fat white guy. You're like,
Yeah.
no, like,
Yeah, the kingfish reveal was not what I expected.
that was not what I had in mind. Like,
But again, back to like the story, I think like Candyman is not on screen a whole lot throughout the film, and I think that's cool. Like because I feel like his presence is felt in this kind of setting. Like in general, there's always like like don't say it, don't repeat Candyman. But the idea with like Mardi Gras going on and it just having a little bit more of that like eerie atmosphere. And it's weird because like Mardi Gras should be like it's celebratory, but I guess with like the costumes and the masks. Which side note, I've realized that Wes Borland of Limp Bizkit has jacked every one of his outfits from like Mardi Gras themed.
he's just watching Candyman 2 on repeat, just like
Yeah, that final sequence in the film, I was like, Wes Borland, Wes Borland, Wes Borland. Like I've seen all of these iterations of his costume, but it really is great because it's like this last penance, and this last party and penance before Candyman arrives, and this celebration like turns into something much darker. And we can talk about that a little bit later in terms of like Mardi Gras and how that then bends into faith, which I know was something that you like speaking to when it comes to this film.
I'm not religious, so I was a little misleading.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's so weird.
Zach's about to get into a sermon right now.
Like, all right, so for Candyman to exist, he has to, have people like believe in him, and like that's like a source of power is like people believing in him and whatnot. And so when, wait, I guess spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie at this point,
Zach,
stop.
we've learned that spoilers they're fair game here. Like if you're hanging out, we're doing a breakdown. There's
All
going
right,
to be spoilers.
so when Annie's brother is in prison or in jail, and the douchebag cop Candyman's, and Tony Todd, rips him a new one, groin to gullet.
Yep.
Like there's like that footage of him just like hanging in like blatant proof that Candyman was real. I mean, this dude just got like ripped open on camera by like an invisible force that throw through a window, which like you like that'd be enough to like yeah, Candyman's real. But like so like this entire movie like the entire franchise like Candyman always like talks like comes off like a bit sermony
Mhm.
like the way he delivers always seems like poetic like like biblically poetic if that makes
Yeah.
sense and like and like also like this falling on like part two falling on like Mardi Gras like the day before Lent starts and then like part three is the Day of the Dead like it's always like Like there's always like a religious overtone like surrounding these
Mhm.
movies, and like you'd think that having like this blatant footage of Candyman clearly existing would like is concrete him as immortal, but like it's like more like those like he needs people to believe in him, like a blind faith belief, like how like religion works. Like
Yeah.
proof, if you have proof, is kind of cheating. So it's
Yeah.
like like making people believe in you. I don't know. It just seems like an overall theme was like it almost comes off very religious the way like he's portrayed, and like for that to make sense would like obviously we have footage of him just cutting somebody in half. Like yeah, that's real. Like everybody believes in him. Nobody
They're
say that
like,
word for dead. Like
it was you, Annie. It was
yeah. Just blame it on his brother or brother. But no, I thought that was like always like I don't know, like the way he delivers his lines and like everything, just like it just seems so like I don't know, bigger, like I guess than the standard horror movie dialogue. Well, I mean, bigger than every heavy hitting slasher's dialogue of nothing.
But I think, to your point, it's true. Like when he comes on screen, when I always joke about him being suave, but I think it's not only in his presence because handsome guy,
Great coats.
that coat game is unmatched. But yeah, it's the lines he delivers, right? It's very poetic. It's very sermony and like almost biblical. And it's not some like menacing psycho. It almost seems too beautiful, like the way he presents, and which is a great juxtaposition with like the kills that I want to get into in a second. But I think what's cool about the religious point is that in this film we have Reverend Ellis, and we start kind of learning that he also is like playing with the control of the Candyman lore, and kind of using religion to control that. So it's almost like this weird battle of like faith here, where it's kind of like what you believe in and how you sway faith, and who believes or who can convince others to believe has power. And I thought that was kind of cool as like some kind of like foil between Candyman
Yeah,
and the Reverend here.
yeah. Which I mean, so like not to jump ahead here, but in Candyman 2021, when the laundromat guy basically made the artist kid into a Candyman, like it's kind of like the same thing. Like, well, similar. Like he like basically made a Candyman. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I feel like the remake did a lot of really cool things, and I feel like it also did not get its flowers for doing a lot of cool things,
yeah.
like the whole like hive mind of like the Candyman making other Candyman, like it being like a potluck of despair,
Hmm. Hmm.
and like I thought that
Which
was like
again
a
would then like yeah make it sense in like feeding in and believing and where this comes
yeah,
from.
and
Yeah,
how like there was multiple Candymen over the time, and how like several of them were based on like real things, like real people.
yeah.
It was like
And
it was
you and I
awesome.
discussed this, but there was kind of like this missed opportunity that we saw happen in the remake where this kid was then told like he's going to become the next Candyman, like it gets passed on to the next person. And in this film, I don't remember the kid's name, but we see
Matthew
that
Ellis.
yeah, Matthew, yeah, it's Reverend's son. So Matthew Ellis is sketching up things and he seems to be connected and he's kind of following Annie, and
Yeah,
and
he's
I feel like that
drawing
right
like
there.
he literally was like drawing like the cutscenes that Annie gets like laser beam to her like
Yeah.
like yeah. I mean, there's your next. That's gonna be the next Candyman. We're having
Yeah.
another one. Matthew Ellis is the next Hook man. You heard it here first.
So for like one of my next big points on the palette was the kills. You and I have talked about the what we've seen on like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and kind of like this film got trashed. And I think like what I enjoyed about it was that yes, it's not your atypical slasher. It deviates from that, but the kills are awesome. So the H2 kill, like I'm calling it the H2 kill, but he hooks from behind. I mean, that's kind of like still Candyman's thing. Like shows up from behind, suavely whispers in your ear, and then like plunges a hook through your body. But I love the blood squirting on her lip.
Yeah.
Like,
If you watch it like get her mouth, she's like a.
Yeah. Like filming it, like they definitely caught a moment there. But yeah, like imagine just like your husband just gets it and then his blood just squirts onto your lip and you're oh shit. So you're but the detective at the station that you mentioned, incredible. Like the idea that like he's not being seen, but we see him like pick him up and then throw him down because they're up on the upper level and he just shatters the opening scene, the kill in the bathroom there. Um,
No.
First of all, it took me back. Glass blocks. Can we talk about glass blocks in washrooms? Like 90s loved a good glass block. I in my house, I had glass blocks above. Like so we had like a regular doorway and glass blocks. So it just added a little bit of
I say
something to
bring
it.
it back. Fucking
Yeah.
timeless. The glass block. Dude, all
Yeah.
right. Her cell dying was like it's one of the most satisfying things ever because that dude was such a not a swear. That's what he was
Yeah.
in the first movie. So much not a swear that when he died in this movie, I didn't swear about it. I was like, all right, we
Yeah.
got him. Like, a thing I like about Candyman, and like, it's probably one of the reasons why everybody likes Candyman was like he was a step in a different direction for a slasher. Whereas like
Mhm.
every immortal slasher was a quiet person or just brutal. Dan Robentile comes off very sentient, like very he has intention and purpose, and like in his kills, like of the like 4 or 5 kills he has in this movie,
Yeah.
like all of them but one is behind and hooks him.
Yeah.
Every single one, and it's intentional. It's just like, dude, this works. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
just put behind you and groin and gullet. But like think about it. Like to put that in a movie, like you're making a horror movie and you use the same kill how many times? Like that's intentional. There's no way you're like how should we kill him? Like let's do the Purcell on this guy too.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's true because if we've watched enough horror docs that like you can tell like especially when you get into sequels, they're like, listen, Michael has only like has stabbed too many people with a kitchen knife. Like now he's eye gouging and doing all sorts of weird stuff because we need to like up the kills and make them original and make them unique. But I love that it was like the same kill but with different twists. But I like the consistency of like he approaches you from behind. He's gonna whisper some shit, like I said, like a really well delivered line.
And
And
not even to you, it's always to some lady. Like
yeah,
you're, I have nothing to do with this.
yeah, yeah. But that I think that's such a cool point that like whoever's in his arms at the time, even like yeah, like he say he's talking to Annie, like he's almost not acknowledging even the person that he's about to kill. Even when it's like her mom there, who has been trying to hide the truth, and that's why she becomes a victim. But like,
So his great niece,
yeah,
great
and
granddaughter. Sorry.
yeah, just but he's looking Annie in the eyes, and he's like, "Yo, your husband, boom, done. Your mom, done." Like just taking everybody out
Yeah,
with
but like
such finesse.
yeah, and like it's like it kind of like speaks into like the shift in like a shift from like the slasher stereotype is like we have a thought out killer or like not even a thought out killer but like methodical. He's like this works. I don't need to do anything else. Also like oh where'd I put my machete? Doesn't matter because my hand's a hook. Like problem solved. And I'm just
Yeah,
gonna open you up like a can of tuna.
the
But
most efficient, and I think that's why back to my initial reaction revisiting this film is that it kind of like bleeds into like those really good like 90s thrillers because yes like it's Candyman and Candyman gets lumped into like the slashers genre most of the time but like I feel like we're building a really big origin story that's like really deep and rooted in history and racism and then we have this killer who's like has intention and he is composed and he's very human um but and methodical and the fact that like if you had like if say I know I watch my fair share of cold case files or serial killer documentaries like when a real killer gets their groove like they have like they want to continue to carry out the same thing that works for them so I feel like this really is a nice step away from the traditional slasher but I could also see why that it got crapped on in the initial reviews.
Yeah, because they're L7 weenies. So we're reviewing it. No, no, what was it? Like and like another thing about like Dan Robitaille, apart from being like a slasher, like I was like reading like I'm not sure one of the directors, like I'm not sure if it was like the original director pitched it when he wrote the director from the first movie pitched this, and then his like idea like didn't go through, and then like we'll get somebody else, and then ended up landing on Bill Condon. But like he wanted to make Candyman like basically like Dracula of like
Mm,
the romantic, and like I
yeah,
mean watch it, you're like he pretty much is a gothic romance,
yeah,
like he's just like a brooding, hurting dude that got done dirty. But like even at like the end of this Candyman, like he's talking like telling Annie about his his demise of getting his hand cut off, and he's like, yeah, my suffering was like unbearable, but Caroline's was even greater. Like, bro, what?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like you're talking about like like the reason you are like you got turned into this like omnipresent like super beast like killer, and like you're still like it's still about the love of your life. Like that is
yeah.
so sick.
And really, it's like this pursuit of some kind of connection to like that life that he had and the love of his life, and that's obviously very very Dracula, right? Um, Damn, that it really is. Yeah, I feel like, and you know what? Maybe that's why this film lands even more for me in like New Orleans and having like the Mardi Gras setting because it's like very like Anne Rice vampire like, and then but with Dracula and love story. Um, but yeah, man, I look at it, but yeah, that's romance at its finest, man. It's true. He doesn't care about his own pain and suffering, but it's his wife that he speaks to. Wow.
Which is funny that you bring up Anne Rice because Bill Condon went on to direct how many of those Twilight movies.
Yeah.
Like,
There we go. We saw this was just like just sprinkling a little bit
just
of that
wrangled
in.
it up. Look out. We're not ranch hands. We're the real cowboys today, boys.
All right, Zach. So final sip, the finish. Lingering impact. Does the movie stick with you? Would you rewatch it? I'll start this off with a little bit of a hot take that I've kind of keep teasing the whole time. So, um, again, I feel like I want to join the club and come over and make gumbo with you every year and watch this film. It's a great film, but it's also one that I feel like without being so in your face touches on a lot of like really important historical things. It ties in with racism, and we look at again a torn relationship because of race. That's what it is at its core, and um, and I think it's really well done. And I think like these days we are trying to find this like these movies that like are very like there's social commentary and they're self-conscious of like what they're discussing and addressing really important themes. And I think that is important, right? But what's interesting to me is how like critics or even sometimes on like Letterbox or Rotten Tomatoes, people will still like there's been recent reviews where people will trash this film, but I'm like, how can you not embrace the quality of this film, but then want something that is like really um doing great service and like pushing important themes and like I like for lack of better words like having like a woke movies that really address a lot of important issues and themes. Like how can you like want that but not appreciate a film like this which was doing it in 95. So that's my hot take, but my whole point is I'm coming over for gumbo and watching every year.
Tomorrow, Gumbo and Kingfish, or
Yeah.
go on over. No, uh, yeah, this is obviously this movie doesn't get a lot of love, and I think that's insane. Like the setting is so like atmosphere of this movie is so good. Like it's
Mhm.
like you want to be there. Uh, Tony Todd's performance incredible. Like every like the I'm a sucker for any kind of origin story. Like I love that,
Yeah.
and like more so than that, like just the Candyman franchise of like the inconsistent like narratives of like details change between movies, which can sound just like a canon flub. but like it's also it's urban legends. That's how urban legends work. Urban legends,
Yeah.
they're living tales. They're constantly changing, and like even like Purcell being at the like in the like at the heart of the Helen Lyle thing, like his tale when he's talking about Helen Lyle at the beginning of part two is not consistent with what happens in part two, and like he's still changing the story. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like the heart and soul of an urban legend is like that's how that works. Like
Yeah.
urban legends in general, not yeah. But I obviously I love this movie. I think if the first Candyman didn't exist and this like part two was the first Candyman, I think Candyman would still be a household name. On top of that, Phillips Glass's score, like between the first and
Oh,
second, the absolute greatest scores. It like I'm not a score guy, but I have them on record. It's like I'll vacuum my house to listen to the Candyman score.
yeah. Yeah. It's like I watched this film and I was like, this is beautiful. And the very last thing that stands out to me is that one guy sign, the homeless guy. I'm drunk. I'm stupid. Please let me sleep. And that'll be me tomorrow after recording this this episode.
So I was reading something about this movie. They was talking about like when they were filming, they had a super hard time keeping extras because like they're on Bourbon Street, right? So they
Yeah.
like get to like first like the first whatever lunch break and nobody would come back. Like, they're just like,
We had to mention Zach's tattoo because the tattoo was amazing. Dave, who did this, there we go, designed my shirts, is Zach's super pal and tattoo artist. So you gotta
Dave.
check him out. And yeah, look, there's Dave all over Zach's arms and the Candyman tribute. I think it's super cool how you did kind of like the stained glass look. So for verdict, and our poor rating, neat is perfect. On the rocks, solid but flawed. And watered down is something maybe you would skip the next time. Candyman 2 for me might have not landed in 95 or landed when I first saw it, even for the first time. But it's wrestling with a legacy, race, religion, female agency. Like to me, this is like what we would move into in like modern horror, especially. And this kind of set the blueprint. And I feel like it wasn't chasing the slasher formula, but expanding mythology and something generational. So I'm going neat all day.
Oh yeah, absolutely need 100% need. Uh, every part of the about like I said, I mean, I basically like our house. We have a holiday based on this movie. Every Fat Tuesday, we're watching Candyman 2 and eating gumbo. Which this year is gonna be a little flumpy. Because I just watched it the other day to keep up, and then watch it again today to stay fresh. And we'll watch it again tomorrow and eat gumbo.
Yeah.
Eat or king cake. It's pretty awesome.
In a motion picture that ends what the first one barely started. Candyman, farewell to the flesh.
All right. So that's it for this episode of After the Last Rental. Until next time, keep your tapes rewound and your glasses full. Cheers.
Cheers.